Okay. Hello, my name is Carla, and I am from year 16. And originally, I was from Nova Scotia. I was born in Newfoundland. And when I was at Pearson, I represented Nova Scotia. And now I live in near Washington, D.C., in the eastern United States. And I'm so excited that I see a lot of my friends here today. So, yay! It's been fun seeing everybody. I offered to do this session because I blog and podcast about making art from recycled materials. I've been doing that for many years. That blog and podcast is called Trash Imagination. It's like the word trash and imagination smushed together and take out the I. And I have done many, many episodes where I research how to make art from many different bizarre things that people tend to throw away. And one of my favorite materials to use is t-shirts. That's just personally one of my favorite materials. But before I get started, I wonder if anyone here has made t-shirt yarn before. I know Letty crochets with t-shirt yarn, but you've sometimes made it, right? Is that right? Maybe she can't. I can't hear you, Letty, so maybe it's muted-ish. But anyways, so a lot of people who crochet and knit like to use this type of yarn. And you can buy it already made, but I like to make it from t-shirts. And one of the things people ask me is, where do you get all these t-shirts? Well, when you've been blogging about trash for as long as I have, people give you a lot of things. I get all sorts of random things, but I definitely get t-shirts in quantity. Like, people know I like colorful t-shirts. And so, like, for example, sometimes an organization will have like a conference and they'll make a t-shirt, and then there's like leftovers, like tons of them, and they'll give me like boxes of t-shirts. Or a nonprofit organization might change its logo. This happened with actually one of my previous employers. And they call, knock, 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 Carla. We have these boxes of t-shirts with a logo that we can't show anymore. If you promise not to show this old logo, will you do something with these t-shirts? I'm like, of course. So I was collecting these t-shirts, and at some point during the social distancing, I was like, I have to start using up these t-shirts in quantity. Like, I have to use hundreds of t-shirts, not like 5 t-shirts. So like before this, I would do projects like this where it might use up like a tiny little strip of t-shirt so what you're seeing here, these lines are strips of t-shirt yarn, and then it's beads in between. So that's not using up very much t-shirt, but it's really fun to do. But I was like, okay, no, I have to get into mass quantity, like t-shirts. And so the first thing I tried was I started weaving the t-shirts into mats like this. You can sort of see it. And it's nice. It's perfectly nice. And a mat like this might use up 6 t-shirts. And I was like, oh, this is not bad. But you can get mats like this at IKEA for like $4. So it wasn't, it's kind of boring, like it's fine. And it's very fun to make, but So then I was like, okay, no, I gotta come up with like a method to massively use up t-shirts. So the other problem with this kind of mat is, so I'm gonna use like a ball of t-shirt yarn that looks something like this. And that only uses up the part of the t-shirt from the armpits to the bottom of the t-shirt. Okay, and when you see me make that, you're gonna see it. You use this much. But what about this part? And what about this part? And what about this part? And what about the little piece at the end? And that was all getting pushed to the side. And I'm like, I can't throw this away. So then I had to think of a method that would use both the very nice long piece of yarn. But then what do I do with all these little bits that I was creating by trying to cut the sleeves? So that's when I invented the fluffy rug. So the fluffy rug, how did the fluffy rug, did anyone ever do latch hooking when you were like a tween? Do you know latch hooking? It's like you get these little pieces of yarn like this, and you use this little hook, and it makes a little fluffy rug. And they come in kits, and they have like rainbows and happy faces and kittens and stuff. Okay, so I was like, well, that's perfectly fine, but I'm gonna try doing it with the t-shirt yarn instead of the acrylic yarn. But it was COVID, and I didn't want to leave my house. So I didn't want to go buy anything. So I'm like, well, if you take this type of rug, but you just leave a gap between all of it. You basically get a grid, and then you could latch hook onto that grid. That was my thinking. Okay, so then, I made the fluffy rugs. Okay, so this is a fluffy rug. It weighs 12 pounds. It uses up 60 t-shirts. So this is serious. This is like using up the t-shirts. And this is what the back looks like. It's very heavy. So this is what the back looks like. So it's the back, you'll see it looks just like normal weaving. But what makes this different is I'm tying little short pieces on every vertical piece. So it's a little bit hard to explain, but I have lots of videos about it that you can watch afterwards. But anyways, I love the fluffy rugs. They're very fluffy and very heavy. So sorry, any questions about that?
Carla,
Yeah.
is it like that? My daughter has a wall hanging that's done with wool.
That's right. It's the same
And
concept.
I love running my hand down it because it's so fluffy. Is it that
Yes,
same principle?
that's right.
but
It's
vertical?
very sensorially satisfying thing. Yes, it's very like, oh, yes. It's so that in North America, that's called latch hooking. I don't know. Does it have a different name in Australia or?
No, I'd call it that too. Yeah, with the
Oh,
one that you
okay.
go.
But
I
that
haven't done
one
it for a
you
while,
use
but you go
little
that
tool.
direction and pull it back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I didn't do that because this yarn was too fat for that tool, so I just tie it with my fingers, like tie a little knot, 2 knots. So that's a fluffy rug. Here's a green fluffy rug. This one's a little bit smaller, so it's like a mossy hill. So yeah, okay.
I love that one.
So that's what I've mostly been making recently from t-shirt yarn is the fluffy rugs. A little bit of other things, but that's the idea. Okay. So, but you can use this anywhere you would use yarn. You could use this type of thing. Now, at the craft club, Leticia made a good comment, which is that it is difficult to get this yarn to always be the same density or weight or width or whatever word you want to use. Because when you pull, you'll see when we make this, if you haven't cut it a certain way, it'll get thick and thin, which isn't bad. I mean, some spun yarn is like that, right, on purpose. But I'm going to show you some ways to try and avoid that. And then the other trick is not all t-shirts are the same. Okay, so these t-shirts look the same, right? They're just nice t-shirts. They're soft. They say 100% cotton. You're like, woohoo, this is going to be fine. But if you hold it in your hand and you like pinch it a little bit, you'll see this one feels much thinner. This one feels thicker. And it's not just because they both have been washed. And if you look up close, so okay, and I hope this will work because I mean it is a webcam, but so this one, the surface is pretty smooth, right? Like you can't see a grain per se. But this one, this is the yucky one. Do you see there's like ribs or lines? Do you see that? And maybe more tank tops are like this, or basically cheaper, crappier t-shirts are like this. So this won't work. This does not make good t-shirt yarn. Now, why? Why? Okay, well, so the good ones, the ones that I love, when you pull them, they curl up on each other and they make a string. But this kind, it just goes, it just lies flat. It does nothing. And it's like, you can pull with all your strength and and it's super yucky. So
I love your technical language. That's really good technical language.
I would say limp, lackluster. I made this rug from the t-shirts that don't curl. And you can see they're just kind of like sad. I was trying to use it up. Underwear tends to be this kind of crappy. This is a lot of underwear in this rug. So, but which one do I like the most? This one, or do I like the fluffy rug? Well, of course I love the fluffy rug because I mean, come on. And like it's just so exciting and so not exciting, right? So, I guess my point is it takes a little bit of trial and error to get used to holding them in your hand and saying, oh yeah, this is gonna make bleh, and this is gonna make beautiful. So, and the thing is, when people give me t-shirts, they're just like, oh, here's t-shirts. They don't know what they're giving me. So in a bag, I will get half good and half crappy. Now, the good one, like when they do a conference, they tend to be good ones. So that's really cool. So I got this because I was volunteering, and I'm never going to wear this t-shirt again. Because who wants to wear this? I don't want to wear this. So, but I'm like, green. So I go to all the other volunteers and I'm like, are you ever going to wear this again? And they're like, no. I'm like, you need to give me your t-shirt. And I'm like, can I get another shirt on first? I'm like, you're a man. Just give me the shirt. Like, you come on. So anyways, I am very aggressive once I get some nice, colorful t-shirts. Or like orange. Oh, look at that. I get very excited when people give me. Look, that's actually a nice t-shirt. Shine on. Oh, that's sweet. But I'm going to cut it up. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I love reusing t-shirts. And the other thing is I will send you guys a link. There's a video that talks about the life cycle, what it takes to make a t-shirt. And when you watch this, you'll be so depressed. It is so bad for the environment. And yet we think of t-shirts as almost like plastic bags. Like we're just like, yeah, you have an event and you make everybody a t-shirt. And I'm really like, don't do that. As much as I like making things from t-shirts, I try to encourage people, don't make t-shirts for your events if you can think of another way to celebrate. Okay, so that's enough blah, blah, blah. I'm going to now show you how I do it. But any questions or thoughts before I do the demo? And this is my t-shirt. So for example, this is another, so this had a big logo on it, and I'm not supposed to wear it showing the logo. So I wanted a pride t-shirt, so I just sewed this over the logo, right? And so like that's another way to recycle t-shirts, is just put something else on top of it that you would rather talk about than what it was on there. So that's a little bit, you only use up one t-shirt. Fluffy rugs, use up lots of, okay, cool. So here is, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Whoop. This is my dining room table. Okay, hopefully you can see that. This is my cutting mat. And I got a t-shirt here. And I've just laid it out, sort of flatten it as best I can. I'm going to try to line up the bottom piece here where there's stitching. Try to line it up, but it's hard because it gets wrinkly. Okay, it's close enough. Okay, then I take a ruler. I have a really long one, like this, and I need a rotary cutter, like this. Now you could do this with scissors, but it's gonna be super tedious. And especially like me, I'm cutting up like 200 t-shirts, so I don't wanna do scissors, okay. So then what you do is you take the t-shirt and you fold it, not quite in half. I don't know if you can see this. Let me pull it away a little bit. But there is like, it's like about 1.5 inches more on the bottom than on the top. See, I leave that part. So it's not folded exactly in half. And you could leave a little bit more. It's like, okay. So this is very important, or you're going to get a bunch of little short strips. Okay, it's very important to leave that piece like that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the part that has the stitching, because that does not make good yarn. So I'm just going to cut that off completely. And this table, I just realized, is not very flat. This is going to be funny. Okay, so this, what do I do with this? So, okay, I'll show you something I did with this, which is a little crazy. I made this with all of those pieces. So I just wove them. But, so this is entirely made out of the waistbands. Okay, but for now, I'm just gonna say goodbye. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut from the fold up to here. I'm not gonna keep going. I'm gonna stop at this part. And I'm gonna cut it, so I'm feeling this shirt, talking to this shirt. Shirt, are you gonna make good yarn? This shirt's pretty thick, so it's a good shirt. So I'm gonna cut about maybe an inch and a half or 4 centimeters, maybe 3 centimeters strip. Okay, and I just eyeball it. I'm not like super fussy. So I'm just gonna stop at that fold right there. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna keep doing that all the way up to the armpits. This is the worst table. Can you tell I don't normally do this on my dining room table? Okay. Okay, I'm getting close to the armpits. Okay, so here's the other thing. This shirt is basically new. It was made for some conference. So the fibers are very nice. Of course, I wash everything. Once people give it to me, I give it a wash, so I know it's clean. And I'm always cutting away from myself for safety. Okay, once I get to the armpit, I'm gonna go all the way through, off the top. Okay, so now I've got this piece. I've basically separated the body from the top of the shirt. So there's the bottom. This is the top of the shirt. So this includes the sleeves and the chest of the shirt. I'm going to do something with that later, but put that aside. Okay, so now I'm going to pop this up for a second. Whoop. I'm going to take this part, and it looks like this, like an octopus, kind of, has legs hanging down. And I'm going to take my hand, and you can see this side has some writing on it. That's okay. Doesn't matter. It's going to get rolled up, and you won't be able to see that. And I can see that I didn't cut all the way through on some of those strips, so I'm going to just grab my scissors and fix that up a little bit. It's because my table was not flat. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to end up cleaning this up a little bit. Okay, good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this shirt on my left arm. I'm right-handed, so you do your other arm if you're left-handed. I'm just going to lay it on my arm like that. So it's hanging down. Okay, now I'm going to take my scissors, and that first cut, I'm going to cut like this on a diagonal from there to the first piece. So let me demonstrate. Did you see that? Okay, so the first cut was on the diagonal. I can see I did a bad job here, so I'm just going to go like that. And then that first strip has just fallen down. Okay. So that's hanging down now. And now this is the weird part, but for some reason it works. It's amazing. Let me just fix that up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to go from this line to that line. Isn't that weird? I'm going to go from this line to that line. And why am I doing this? It's because I want to make one big long piece of yarn. Okay, when I did that, it's not perfect, right? It's kind of a weird shape, but that's okay. It's going to work out. And now it has fallen down and it's a longer strip. So I'm going to just keep doing that all the way through until I get a gigantic long strip. So again, I'm connecting that to that. The inside of that to the inside of that. Does that make sense? That it's not intuitive. That's the part that I like about it, is I would never have thought of that. I learned this from other smart people. Okay, so my strip is getting really long now. So it's going to make a nice big piece of yarn. And I'm just going to keep going like that. Man, I love this color. This is one of my favorite colors, like teal. Oh, what does teal mean to you? What does that color do for you? For me, it's like curiosity. It represents like being curious and excited. What does teal mean for you guys?
I think of the ocean.
The ocean, yes, that's a good one. What else?
Me too.
You think of the ocean? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, especially Judith, right? I mean,
Yes.
you're surrounded by that beautiful emerald water.
Yeah, I think Judith gets to say ocean. Yes. We're okay with that.
Especially coral reef beaches
Yeah,
have that.
that's right.
Yeah, that's exactly the
I once
color.
had a weaving teacher, and she made me think of every color and what it meant to me. What does that color mean? What does my personal palette mean to me? And it had to be kind of like value words or emotion words, not object words. And what we did is we took all the colors that I had picked that represented my most strongly held values, and we made a weaving out of it. That was very lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now everything is a big long string. So this is the really fun part. This is where all your frustrations get to get rid of them. You just pull. Anger, frustration. The kids didn't listen. The dinner was terrible. Yes, that's what happened. You know, my client is an idiot. Okay, so you just keep going like this. You get all, and you can see that that becomes much longer. You know,
I see.
so it's really cool how it basically expands. I would say it almost gets like twice as long as when it's not pulled, right? And you get really nice arms doing this. This is Michelle Obama arms, you know. Like, don't worry about doing weights at the gym. Yeah. Just get some beautiful triceps. I do drumming, so I'm very worried about my arms looking awesome, of course. Okay, cool. So just keep pulling like this, and as I'm pulling it, I'm just throwing it on the floor. Boop. And this is also a good job for a niece or a nephew or a kid. My kids, of course, are 100% tired of this, so this is no longer novel, and they would never do this for me. But when they were little, after the 4,000th t-shirt, they're a little bit jaded on whether they want to help me with this.
But do you do all 60 of them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of t-shirts. I have done so many t-shirts in my life.
Do you dream of doing that?
I do. It's part of my psyche at this point. Okay, so I've pulled it all tight. So now I'm going to roll it into a ball. So I just wrap it around my hand, whoop, 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 like that. A few times. Then pull, wrap it the other direction. Whoop, 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 whoop. And then you start making it into a ball. And you get a beautiful, it's very even. The yarn is all the same thickness. It's super soft. It smells a bit like laundry, so that's kind of nice. Clean laundry. Yeah, I did wash this. Although sometimes people, they give me their t-shirts and I'm like, maybe I won't wash this. Like, they smell nice. I don't know what these people are wearing, but it's nicer than my soap. Okay, so make the ball. Boop, boop.
Makes a very nice, one t-shirt makes a nice
One
big
t-shirt
ball.
Yeah, pretty nice juicy ball. And this is just, you know, from the armpit to the waistband, right? I haven't even finished. Okay, so that's that part. Now, until I figured out fluffy rugs, I didn't know what to do with this part. Because you can see it won't work because it has seams. And it has a lot of stuff going on. It has this sewing here, it has the collar, like it's just a big problem. So I was like, hey, I gotta think of what to do with this. So here's what I do with it. I lay it out flat. Let me get it back down here. So I lay it out flat, get my yarn. And again, I cut off the part that has the stitching on it. That later. Make this nice and flat as I can. And I'm just gonna cut along the seam. So I get this t-shirt sleeve and cut off the part that's the seam. Okay, so at this point I have a shape that looks like this. It's a pretty shape, but I can't do very much with this. So here's what I do. I fold it back up. I lay it flat. I take my ruler and I just cut it into pasta! Little spaghetti strips like this. Okay. Then what I do is I take the strip and I pull it just like I pulled the rope. So now I've got a piece that's, I don't know how long this is, like 1.5 feet long. This is 2 fluffies. I've just made 2 fluffies for my fluffy rug. So that's what gets tied onto the fluffy rug. The sleeves and the chest become the fluffies. This is what is woven to make the weaving. Now, if you're not going to make fluffy rugs, which you should, but let's say you were like, I don't think so, Carla. This is, I guess it's a little harder to know what to do with this kind of length, right? It's not as useful. You could use it to sew, like when Leticia is making her bunnies, maybe she could sew the ears onto the body, that kind of stuff. So it's like, what could you use a piece of string that's this long? It's less useful, right? But that's what I make the fluffies from. So that's step 1 is I make some fluffies. Fluffies. Then the yoke or the chest of the shirt. Yeah, we'll cut off the other sleeve, but I have to get, oops, I need to make this go down. I need to get this collar off because it's pretty useless. I can't, that's actually the main part. Oh, there's very little I can do with this. So I cut along the seams with my scissors and I actually just cut around the collar. Like that. Cut off this one. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so this is pretty useless, but I mean, I made that one rug with the waistlines, but yeah. This part is seams are pretty much the garbage. But if all I throw out is this, I don't feel too bad. So, okay, so let's get a yoke here. Okay, so the yoke or the chest of the t-shirt, it has a front and a back, right? And the back is usually a rectangle like this, right? Sort of a rectangle. Hi. But this is usually where the most writing is on the t-shirt, so that's a little bit annoying. And some t-shirts, the writing is very dense, and so that if it's really dense, I can't use it. But this is not too bad. So what I would do, well, I should cut off the seam. I, again, will just cut it like pasta, right? Like I'll cut off and kind of even it up. Boop. And then I will cut these sort of 2-inch wide, 1.5-inch wide and make spaghetti again. If it's a really large t-shirt, like I didn't even realize how large t-shirts can get, but woohoo! There are some very large t-shirts in the world, like 4XL t-shirts. Like you could use it as a fitted sheet on your bed. And when you get a t-shirt like that, this string can get really, really long. And if it's long enough, you can use it as a warp on the loom. So that's the other way I use the yoke pieces. So just hang on, I'm going to grab my loom so you can see what I mean by the loom. Whoop. So this is my loom well, I have a bunch of looms, but this is my most portable one. This is made out of it was a frame, like the art was in, that I found in my neighbor's trash. And I took it home and I sanded off the back to make sure it had no splinters. And then we put these screws. You see this, how the screws are every like 1.5 inches along the bottom and the top? So when I want to weave a mat, like one of the mats I showed you, I have a couple of ways of doing that. One is I could take these pieces from the yoke and I could just tie it to make the vertical parts of the weaving. You can see the perfect length. It just reaches, right? So that's kind of fun. But if I'm feeling luxurious and maybe a little bit lazy, the other way that I put is I can take one of my balls of yarn and I can tie it like this. This is really fun. So I actually just warp it by dragging the ball back and forth like this. So you can see this could go really fast. I could put a warp on in about 5 minutes. You see what I mean? How I'm just pulling that back and forth, back and forth. So that's, you know, if I'm just lazy. But if I wanna use up all the bits, I will not do that. I will like take each individual yoke piece and tie it here and pull it to the top and tie it here. But you can see that would take a lot longer to do that 15 times versus, you know? So that's how I use up all the parts of the t-shirt. Okay, so I think you'll see a lot of videos. If you search for how to make t-shirt yarn, you'll see a lot of videos that teach you how to make this part. And then they say, just throw away the top part. So I think the one thing that I have innovated on is using up that top part, either to make fluffy rugs or to make warp on your loom or, you know, attaching the parts of your stuffed toy together. So, okay, so that was it. That's the ta-da. So any thoughts or questions about making yarn from t-shirts?
Yeah, I just put in the chat another idea to use the sleeves.
Okay, yeah. What is that? What is, you said, I don't know if, I don't want to say something rude. Okay, so this is how it's spelled for those who can't see the chat. It is Fuxico. Now, in English, that sounds like I have no idea what that, it sounds like it could mean anything. But what does it mean in Portuguese?
It means actually gossiping, like some kind of gossip, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Like,
how does the little strings make gossip?
No, they make those, it's those,
Yeah.
what are
Looks like
they? They were very
flowers.
popular in the 90s for the hair. It was this piece of elastic with material around it, and you would use it to put it on your
Scrunchy.
hair.
Oh,
And
a
put it-
scrunchie.
yeah,
Ah, okay. A scrunchie.
that's what I think they are, right? Constance, is that what they are?
What? You can use actually, you can make clothes and towels, you can make anything. You can put them together. Like you make a round, it looks like flowers. You can put buttons, like stitched buttons, and then it look like flowers. And you can even make like a towel or whatever from them.
I just
Okay, so
Googled
it's
it.
not what I thought they were.
It's not a scrunchie. It's
Sorry.
let me see if I can find a not rude photo that I could share of this. Oh, images. Yeah, it's interesting. So they're called, what are these called in English? Blah, I can't remember. But anyways, let me share the screen and maybe somebody will know. It's pretty bad. I don't know. Okay, so let's do share screen. Whoop, share. These things, they're like little coins, kind of like,
Oh yeah,
I don't know
Yeah.
what to call these
that's
things.
like they're called
that's what you mean,
fushikos,
right?
Carla. That's
Yeah,
what they're called,
now,
fushikos.
in my world, they're now called fushikos as well.
Fushikos.
I don't know the word in English, but I mean, that's something you can do with what's left over.
That's true. That's true. You could. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. That's fun. Yeah, you guys keep telling me things that I could do because I have a few t-shirts. And so, you know, if you think of fun ideas for using up, let me know. Have you seen?
Carla,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm crocheting the t-shirt yarn that I buy because I don't have t-shirts right now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I have little pieces sometimes. So what I have here, when even other kind of yarn, I use this. I put all the pieces that I can use, and then
nice.
when you do maybe make a cushion, and you need, you know, I don't know how do you say,
like a fringe? A fringe?
No, it's not a fringe. You know, this part of the cushion that you need to.
Oh, stuffing. Stuffing.
Stuffing. I use it as stuffing.
You could use it for stuffing. Yeah. It's True. Yeah,
All the yarn that it's really small and you can do anything,
that's
I
true.
don't throw it away. I just
Yeah.
put it here, and then when I have a lot, I do a cushion thing,
Nice. I like it.
for example.
Well, especially your
Or-
bunnies their bodies are very dense. So it would be good. Like it would make a very hard bunny, like not a hard bunny, but like a nice, strong, tough bunny.
Yeah. No, but the other thing is sometimes you have like a 20 centimeters and you don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes I tie plants, when you have to guide
That's
them.
true.
I tie
Yeah.
plants.
Yeah.
Or maybe I sew the little pieces and make a long yarn.
Yeah.
And I do rugs with that. I make rugs with that because
Nice.
I managed to make a long t-shirt yarn, and I just sew it.
That's
Or,
very
I don't
cool.
know,
Yeah. I mean, it's
check or
very
whatever.
soft. It's very nice to work with. Like it's just very
Yeah.
cuddly.
And what you said about the differences between the t-shirts,
yeah.
that happen when you go and buy the t-shirt yarn. You have to look really carefully because I mean, it's not the same when you have to crochet. When you use the other ones, they are really flat. You can do anything, and they
Right,
are really
yeah.
hard when you try to crochet it. So
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
good
a
for
bummer that
making
happens. Yeah.
baskets, but not really.
Yeah.
They are not really working for that.
Well, so Letty, you
Uh,
use a lot of this yarn. Do you think you would make it from t-shirts if you could get some t-shirts?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
I mean, the main thing I suggest is just tell everyone in your life, like, I want your t-shirts. Now, one thing I will caution you is if somebody wears a t-shirt a lot, like I have some t-shirts that I wear basically till they're falling apart. That's not going to make good yarn. It's gonna actually, when you pull on it, it'll go like crunch, and you'll be like, ugh, that's a nasty sound. When you pull a strip of it, if it actually crackles, that is not, just don't use that one. So there's enough t-shirts that people barely wear that you don't need to use the ones that are falling apart. At first, I thought that's what I was gonna do, but I learned there are just too many t-shirts in the world. And so you don't need to use the really gross ones. Like just ask your friends for, I had a lady, this really nice lady from, I think, Massachusetts. And she messaged me on Facebook and said, I have 400 t-shirts. If I ship them to you, will you take them? And I was like, okay. And so I kept getting these boxes of t-shirts. And I mean, like, I've used one a box. Like, it takes a long time. And the other thing is, it's really great if the t-shirts are white or light gray, because then you can dye them any color, whatever you want. And they were. All her t-shirts were white and light gray. So it's been great. I'm like, I feel like purple today. And I just dye them and I get 20 purple shirts, and then off I go. So yeah, I can't stress enough, there's too many t-shirts in the world. People don't necessarily think of t-shirts as trash, but I do, because it's ridiculous how many there are. So yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, we can wrap it up there. Is any other comments or questions or? Yeah. Cool.
I want to say that I love your fluffy rugs. And when you made the one with the moss, it was, the Pride one was perfect, right? And it made a lot of sense because, the colors and all of that. And then all of a sudden you come up with moss. And then you're making one with the ocean, right?
I did ocean. I did a blue one that looks like an ocean wave. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I did one that was, it was cherry blossom season here. And so it was all pinks. I call it my Sakura one because it's all cherry blossom. I used every pink color. I've done different grays, whites. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do next, but Mel wants me to make her one. Mel is my daughter. She wants me to make one that's orange and pink mixed together. So I don't have enough orange, so I have to make some orange ones.
I think it's just beautiful art, it's not just a craft. It's not only taking care of finding a creative use for something that we're definitely don't need to produce as much, but you're making it beautiful, and it's really special to see.
Nice. Thank you. Well, the only downside of these rugs is they weigh so much that shipping them to Bermuda and Guatemala is very cost prohibitive. But I looked it up and it's like $80 to like mail one of these rugs because they're so heavy. So that's
I want to
thinking as
see
well.
one.
Yeah, like, oh.
Carla, what if you put, I don't know how it would look like and how it would feel like too, if you put less of this
Yes.
fluffy.
Yeah, people have asked me about that because the other problem is the washing machine, right? So if I put one of these in the washing machine, I kind of have to hug the washing machine. Don't go anywhere. Like it's like blah, 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 blah. So like I it's not practical from a cleaning perspective. So yeah, I should experiment with making slightly less fluffy rugs. I just love the feeling of it's like a big sheepdog. But yeah, they're not totally practical as a result. Yeah, cool. So, Luis, you joined partway through, but did you get the gist of it?
I spent the last 20 minutes, not much, but
Okay.
I
Well, you
enjoyed
can
it.
watch the recording to see the first bit, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and I really appreciate seeing you all. And yay!
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.